Nazi war machine seemed unstoppable. Lightning-fast attacks, relentless endurance, and soldiers who fought as if they felt no pain or fear. But what if we told you this wasn't just superior training or tactics? What if there was a secret weapon behind the Wehrmacht's shocking battlefield dominance? One that had nothing to do with guns, tanks, or strategy.
Ich frage euch, wollt ihr den totalen Krieg?
During the early years of World War II, Germany's military success was unmatched. The Blitzkrieg strategy took Europe by storm. France fell in just 6 weeks. Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, and Belgium were all conquered in rapid succession. The Nazis fought with a level of energy and endurance that defied belief. But how? How could they push forward without rest, fighting for days without slowing down? The answer lies in a top-secret Nazi experiment known as Die Ninka, a project designed to create super soldiers by chemically enhancing their endurance, aggression, and fearlessness. But here's where it gets even stranger. This wasn't just a Nazi experiment. The discovery of their methods would change the way wars were fought forever. What started as a secret weapon would evolve into something much bigger, something that even modern militaries are still wrestling with today. Before World War II, Germany was at the forefront of scientific innovation. The early 20th century saw German scientists making groundbreaking advancements in chemistry, physics, and engineering, laying the foundation for many modern technologies. Germany was home to some of the most brilliant minds, including Albert Einstein, Werner Heisenberg, and Fritz Haber, who contributed to quantum mechanics, synthetic materials, and industrial chemistry. German research institutions, universities, and pharmaceutical companies were among the most advanced in the world. Discoveries in synthetic fuels, medical treatments, and chemical compounds placed Germany ahead of its competitors. Even before the war, German scientists were exploring ways to enhance human performance, primarily for medical purposes. But in 1933, everything changed. When the Nazis came to power, they restructured the scientific community, forcing researchers to shift their focus to military applications. While many are familiar with Nazi breakthroughs in rocketry, like the V-2 missile, nuclear research, and advanced weaponry, pharmaceutical science also became a tool of warfare. Military strategists understood that battles weren't just won with guns and tanks. A soldier's endurance, aggression, and ability to resist pain could be just as critical as firepower. This led to experiments on chemical enhancements designed to make German troops stronger, faster, and immune to fatigue. The German military wanted unstoppable soldiers, fighters who could march for days without sleep, endure extreme stress, and charge enemy positions without hesitation. To achieve this, they turned to drug-based performance enhancement, setting the stage for one of the most disturbing and controversial military experiments in history. But what exactly did they develop? And how did it impact the soldiers who became test subjects? Moving on, we'll dive into how the Nazi war machine introduced chemical warfare on the human body to create super soldiers. The Wehrmacht wasn't just skilled, it moved with unrelenting speed and endurance that shocked the world. From the early days of World War II, German forces overwhelmed their enemies with a strategy that seemed almost superhuman. The secret behind their early success was Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. This strategy focused on rapid attacks, constant movement, and overwhelming firepower, giving enemies little time to regroup. Traditional warfare had pauses. Armies would rest, reorganize, and plan their next move. But the Nazis never stopped advancing. In Poland, 1939, France, 1940, and the Soviet Union, 1941, German forces pushed forward for days without rest. During Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, troops marched hundreds of miles in extreme conditions, often fighting in freezing temperatures with little sleep or food. Allied forces reported that German soldiers fought with eerie intensity, seemingly immune to exhaustion, hunger, or fear. At first, enemy commanders thought this was just extreme discipline or superior training, But there was another reason, one that had nothing to do with tactics. German soldiers were being given Pervitin, a methamphetamine-based drug that turned them into tireless, fearless war machines. Pervitin was first developed in the 1930s by Temmler, a German pharmaceutical company, and was originally marketed as a stimulant for everyday use. But the Wehrmacht quickly realized its potential for warfare. Soldiers who took it could stay awake for days, feel less pain, and charge into battle without hesitation. During the invasion of France, tank crews and infantry units were issued millions of Pervitin tablets to keep them alert for long stretches. Even pilots in the Luftwaffe used it to stay sharp on extended bombing missions. But while Pervitin created a short-term battlefield advantage, the effects were devastating. Soldiers became addicted, suffered hallucinations, and experienced violent mood swings. Others became reckless, making poor tactical decisions in their drug-fueled state. This was only the beginning. The Nazis saw the potential for something even stronger, something that could turn ordinary men into super soldiers. Now, let's talk about WWII, a terrifying Nazi experiment that pushed human endurance even further. What happened when the Nazi scientists combined methamphetamine, cocaine, and synthetic opioids into one ultimate combat drug? The results were shocking and deadly. Pervitin had already proven effective in keeping German soldiers awake and fearless, but Nazi scientists wanted to take things even further. They began working on a new experimental drug, D9, designed to push human performance beyond natural limits. D9 was a powerful mix of methamphetamine, cocaine, and synthetic opioids, created to make soldiers hyper-alert, fearless, and immune to exhaustion. The goal was to create unstoppable troops who could march longer, fight harder, and ignore pain or injury. Early trials were conducted on prisoners in the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Those given D9 were ordered to march for 90 kilometers, 56 miles, without rest. And shockingly, they did, without showing signs of exhaustion. The results convinced Nazi officials that they had discovered the ultimate battlefield enhancer. When introduced to German soldiers, the effects were immediate. They felt invincible. Troops dosed with D9 charged enemy lines without hesitation, fought through injuries that would normally incapacitate them, and ignored hunger, fatigue, and pain. Some even continued fighting after being shot, their bodies numbed by the effects of the drug. But this so-called miracle drug had horrifying side effects. Soldiers on D9 experienced paranoia, extreme aggression, and hallucinations. Many suffered violent psychotic episodes, turning on their comrades. Some collapsed and died from heart failure, their bodies pushed beyond their physical limits. Even Nazi leaders began questioning the long-term effects, but by the time they realized the dangers, the damage was already done. But the Nazis weren't the only ones experimenting with performance-enhancing drugs. Once the Allies discovered Germany's secret weapon, they quickly began their research. Up next, we'll explore how the Allies responded, developing their drug programs to keep up with this disturbing new form of warfare. The Nazis had a secret weapon, one that gave their soldiers inhuman endurance and fearlessness. But it wasn't long before the Allies uncovered the truth. In 1940, British intelligence discovered Pervitin tablets inside a downed German aircraft. This raised alarms. Germany's early victories weren't just due to better strategy or training. Their soldiers were being chemically enhanced, able to fight without rest, resist fear, and push beyond natural limits. The Allies knew they had to keep up. If Nazi troops could fight for days without sleep, Allied forces needed the same edge. Military scientists immediately began experimenting with their stimulants to enhance soldier performance. One of the first responses was benzodrine, which was quickly adopted by British and American forces. The effects were similar to Pervitin. It kept troops awake, focused, and aggressive during long missions. Pilots, in particular, relied on it to stay sharp during extended bombing raids, sometimes flying for over 12 hours straight. But it wasn't just the Western Allies. Japan also joined in. Japanese pilots, especially kamikaze fighters, were given stimulant-based drugs before their suicide missions to ensure they carried out their objectives without hesitation. When the war ended, the brutal reality of the Nazi super soldier experiments became clear. What was once seen as a military advantage had left thousands of German soldiers addicted to the very substances that had fueled their endurance. The revelations about WWII and Pervitin also raised serious ethical questions. How far should science go in altering human capabilities for warfare? Was it justified in the name of national security, or had the Nazis crossed a line that should never be repeated? But the story didn't end in 1945. During the Cold War, both the US and the Soviet Union continued researching stimulants and performance enhancers for their soldiers. Even today, modern militaries use substances like caffeine, modafinil, and nootropic drugs to keep troops alert during long missions. But this raises an important question. Is there ever a justifiable reason to alter human biology for war? Should soldiers be given artificial endurance to survive brutal conditions? Or does this cross a dangerous ethical line? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into history interesting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more untold stories from the past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.